Hi, I am Maya. What is your name? I like that. I will read a book to you. It is called Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood is a girl who is so excited about going on an adventure that she forgets how dangerous the world can be. After nearly being eaten by a wolf, however, Little Red discovers how helpful her own eyes and ears can be. Are you ready? Super! Let's begin. One summer day, a girl named Little Red Riding Hood was baking cakes with her mother. "Do you think you can deliver these to Grandmother's house by yourself?" the mother asked, placing the cakes inside a picnic basket. "Yes, Mother," said Little Red Riding Hood. She grabbed the basket and skipped quickly out the door. "Wait!" called her mother. "Stay on the path and don't talk to strangers." But Little Red Riding Hood was too far down the road to hear. Little Red Riding Hood followed the path as it led into the forest. Little Red Riding Hood noticed beautiful flowers, delicious nuts, and flitting butterflies just off the path. She stepped off the main road to collect some of the flowers. From the shadows, a pair of eyes spied Little Red Riding Hood leaving the path. "Excuse me, pretty dear, but who are those flowers for?" asked a hungry wolf, disguised as a person. Little Red Riding Hood answered the stranger without even looking at his face. "These flowers are for Grandmother. She is sick and home alone in the first house by the oak tree." The wolf smiled and crept away. "Grandma is home alone at the first house by the oak tree." The wolf licked his lips as he ran down the path which led directly to Grandmother's cottage. The wolf knocked on Grandmother's door. "Who is it?" asked Grandmother. The wolf disguised his voice. "It's Little Red Riding Hood, and I've brought cakes." Grandmother, who had been very sick, couldn't hear well. She believed the wolf's voice was Little Red Riding Hood's voice. She told him how to unlock the door, and he crept inside with a grin. Not long after, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at Grandmother's cottage. "Who is it?" asked the wolf, disguising his voice like Grandmother's. "It's Little Red Riding Hood, and I've brought cakes and flowers." The wolf told her how to unlock the door, and she skipped inside with a smile. Inside, the wolf peeked out from under a blanket. When Little Red Riding Hood came close, he coughed. "Stay away, dear. I've been very ill and do not want to get you sick," the wolf lied, making his voice sound just like Grandmother's. Little Red Riding Hood set the basket down and watched Grandmother snatch a cake from the basket. "Grandmother, what big arms you have!" shouted Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to hug you, my dear," said the voice. Little Red Riding Hood sat down at the end of the bed and laid her hand upon Grandmother's foot. "Grandmother, what big feet you have!" she exclaimed. "All the better to walk to your house, my child." Grandmother's bonnet fell off as she chewed, and Little Red Riding Hood gasped. "Grandmother, what big ears you have!" "All the better to hear your voice, granddaughter." Soon the cake was nearly finished. "Come closer, my dear. and have the last bite," said Grandmother. Little Red slid over and took the cake. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have!" Little Red Riding Hood gasped. "All the better to see your lovely face," replied Grandmother. Then Grandmother smiled very widely. "Grandmother, what big teeth you have!" marveled Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with," growled the wolf as he threw off the covers. Little Red Riding Hood screamed and ran. Little Red found a door at the back of the room and opened it. Inside was her real grandmother. Little Red untied Grandmother and they escaped out the front door. Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother stayed on the main road and didn't stop to talk to any strangers along the way. That night, Little Red Riding Hood did a little more listening than talking. And whenever she did say something, she spoke only to people she knew very, very well.